Welcome, everybody, to another edition of the Tougies Take podcast with just one co-host today, as Endo Mills was unavailable at this later time than normal for us to record. But Sin, would you like to explain to the class why we're late?
Yeah, so I set my alarm for the podcast time, but apparently I did it wrong. Set it for an hour later because I knew I wouldn't be able to keep track of time because I was exploring a cave in Minecraft. And yeah, it's a great way to stay in shape.
So obviously you and I just talked about this. I'm not mad at all. Like we were recording an hour earlier than later anyway because I went out to dinner. And it was just one of those things. It's like, oh yeah, an hour later's fine. And then the time comes around like 10 minutes before, and I'm like, so we good? And I was like, yeah, we're fine. I'll have to leave halfway through, but we're fine. It's like, cool. Where's Sin? 10 minutes later, still haven't heard from him. Text you. So, he must be sleeping. I hope it's nothing serious. And then you text me back, just sorry, Dave. Playing Minecraft. It's amazing. Well, it's funny because we were just talking about the other day, like how we might want to get into like playing Minecraft on stream, because I only ever played Minecraft like on stream the one time, which I think was Architect and Deej.
Mm-hmm.
And I
wasn't able to make it. Yeah,
you were supposed to be there and you weren't able to get it to work time-wise. But it's one of those things where I have trouble with games like that, where it's like, what's the goal? Whatever you want it to be, unless I'm playing it with friends.
Yeah. Like, I enjoy it on my own because I always have one goal, and that's to eventually build a giant fucking castle. And, but yeah, it's such a cool game. Just chill. But I love games like that, like with no goal, like Medieval Dynasty. Like, there's legit no goal. You just build a village and manage it. But it's all first person, so it's like, you have to chop down trees and collect shit. Like, I'm into just relaxing ass games like that. But yeah, Minecraft is so much more fun when you're playing with people. Like,
yeah,
because then like shit goes way faster. Like building stuff can go way faster. But then like there's always one person fucking with stuff too, though.
That's Architect. Like, yeah. I've never like the goal of the game is to be like, kill the Ender Dragon. I've never fucking killed the Ender Dragon.
Oh, like, neither have I. Like, I've never gotten to that point.
Like, one of these days, like, we are just gonna have to. Who knows? Maybe it'll be this summer. We're just gonna have to.
Apparently, Monk and Reaver are pretty good at the game, so they'll have to.
Yeah, they play a lot. So I have people who can lead me to victory, whether it be building something random or whatever else.
Yeah.
But speaking of video games, you were about to get into it. I said save it for the podcast. You, sir, started a new MLB Road to the Show on the YouTube side of things, and were telling me that you are having a blast.
Yeah, I tried out. This is the first time ever doing it. A two-way player.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, it's the Knuckleballer Submarine, by the way. Submarine release Knuckleballer.
You're one of those pieces of shit.
Yes, I love submarine pitchers. Shout out Chad Bradfield, or Chad Bradford. I always got that name wrong. And dude, yeah. So like playing right field, I'm not fielding yet, but with the way it's set up, like they have you DHing 2 out of the 4 games that you're playing because they surround it with your start. So I'm like, oh, dude, I might as well field a bit since I'll only be fielding for 2 games. So I won't base run because my guy's a meme. His name is R.A. Thicky. And he's a big boy. He's got the gut. He's got thick ass legs and arms. And so yeah, I'm not base running, but I'll field. He's just, power hitting knuckleball pitcher. It's so much fun. And I just released the video with my debut start. Crushed it. Absolutely crushed it. Oh yeah. So if you guys want to check that out, I'd be much appreciated because I haven't done MLB since like MLB 16 on my channel. So that long. And yeah, help me with the views. Help me with the algorithm. And I think it's an entertaining series. And hopefully you guys out there feel the same.
I mean, hey, I checked out the first one. I enjoyed it. Honestly, so we have plenty of hockey stuff to talk about today, but people don't watch or listen to this show for the hockey stuff. Let's be honest. That's fucking secondary. That's the hook to get people in. And then we sit here and talk about Pokemon for half an hour. including my new stream alert.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to tune in just so I can hear it. Or is it me like visual too?
Well, no, I put the
Okay.
I put a GIF up. So for those who missed the Monday live show during the lottery, and we'll talk a little bit more about that later on. We did an impromptu stream on my channel to get our live reactions for the lottery, which is what the last podcast was. And Sid did his impression of the like Gen 1 sound for when you get into a battle in Pokemon. So I made his impression an alert on my channel with a GIF of like someone getting into a battle on Pokemon. So it's got the screen wipe and everything.
Oh, that's so good. Shit,
It's
I can't wait to see it.
Oh, it's my favorite. It really, really is. But yeah, no, that was a fun show. MLB, it's been out for a month and a half.
Yeah, I know. I wish I would have started earlier so I could have got that like initial boost. But like,
even then, it goes to show like a month and a half in. Like I've been playing it straight for a month and a half. I'm still having fun. Like we're doing the Pirates franchise, which I won't get into too many. I mean, I don't want to get. It's one of those things where it's like, okay, this isn't going to be posted on the second channel for a long time, but at the same time, like I'm live streaming it. Yeah. That series is trying to put me into an early grave. I just refuse to give up on it, but it's fun. And then Road to the Show as well. Every night that I don't play it on stream, I'm like, shit, I should have played. So yeah, it's one of those things where their franchise mode took a pretty big step up this year. Road to the Show is always fun. It is. I mean, compared to, I mean. It's better than FIFA's. It's better than NHL's. NHL's is trying. Like, the pieces are there, but they just... I don't know what it is. I don't know if it's because the gameplay isn't as fun.
Yeah, it's weird. Like, baseball's, like, such a sport where it's, like... I don't know. I don't know what it is. Like, I've been trying to figure it out. And that's why I was, like, looking... I was trying to, like, figure out a way to emulate NHL Legacy, which is difficult for me to figure out. I got the emulator, but... won't even start. I don't know. I gotta figure.
I can help.
Yeah, cool. I gotta figure out how the hell to do that because I was like, I want to test out NHL Legacy Edition or NHL 14 because I've played the shit out of those career modes, and I'm like, what is missing? Like, but for me, I know what's missing from the newer ones. Like, you can't do a story mode and have it be the same story every year. There's one, and if you do, you have to have a baseline, just straight career mode without the story. With customization options. Like, I don't want to be the first 5 picks every year. I don't want to always be in the NHL. They took out your ability to get sent down to the AHL. They took out the ability to play a full year in the CHL.
Yeah.
So
it just doesn't feel like enough of a journey in a sense.
Yeah. I would love to have franchise and be a pro sort of combined in the sense where you could have the option to like, here, create your be a pro. And if you play the game, you can only be him on the ice with all those be a pro things. But at the same time, if you choose to manage the team at the same time. So like if I'm an enforcer, I'll play myself on the 4th and 3rd line until I work out or play myself in the AHL. Like, I don't know. I just feel like that'd be so cool to be able to kind of do 2 different roles, like have the player and then also build a team around you, around yourself. And just, I don't know. It's just, there's so much that could be done with Be a Pro.
Yeah. I feel like Madden drops the ball on story modes too. Like, and again, for me, like, I don't want a story mode. I don't want to play the same, like, narrative experience that everyone else plays.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like, it's just one of those things where it's like, well, if it's the same thing, barring slight changes, like, I don't really want that. But to your point, yeah, it's like, you can't go the route of, I would say even like an option to be like, you start your career as a 30-year-old in the ECHL and you're trying to get to the NHL before time runs out.
Yeah, like I understand like the age thing may be difficult to do, but like still you should have options where like, hey, I want to be a late round pick, so you start at a lower overall. Right. And then you'll get drafted later, or mid-round pick, like high-round pick. I made this whole video a couple of years ago about all the changes that I'd like to see. That was one of the main talking points, was that there needs to be more customization options and paths that you can take. Story mode's fine, but you need to have more control over the narrative that you want to do. Because as an RPG player, that's what you want. You want freedom.
Right.
Like, and that's how I always have looked at career modes. Is like, you want that freedom. That's something that NHL 14 and Legacy had, where it's like, you could be an enforcer and like, yeah, eventually you'll get good, but the way it started and like at least being able to get sent down and stuff. And I don't know. It was just, went thinking back, it had a better feel in that sense. Whereas now it's just, you're always this top prospect.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because, right, like you going back to Legacy is or 14 is basically the idea of re-exploring Live the Life and seeing if it still feels the same way.
Yeah.
And yeah, I don't know because in theory, like the modern Be a Pro, we did not plan on talking about this, by the way, but hi, how you doing? The modern Be a Pro does some things that we had been asking for as a community within Live the Life. Like, oh, cool, you make all this money. What can you do with it?
Yeah.
Modern day Be a Pro has the ability to be like, well, spend money on this and you get this boost.
Yeah,
which is cool.
That's solid. Like, I love that. But again, it's just you took out some stuff to add that in. Like, that's what it's like. You took a step forward, but it also feels like you took a step backwards. So it's a linear move where some things are better, but then you're missing all this other stuff.
Almost like if they were to add like a scenario type of setup with like custom starting points for a career that take you down a different path.
Yes.
Right, because you think about that in hockey, baseball too is a great example. And it's funny because, again, baseball's road to the show is still like the best one. I would say because NBA's is a fucking money infested grind fest.
Yeah,
at this point,
unfortunately now.
But you think of baseball and no, but I got a skateboard.
God, it's like, what's the point?
I tried playing that. I'm like, this sucks. Like, this sucks. It is not for me. But like one of the biggest stories in baseball this year, aside from the fact that the Pittsburgh Pirates actually aren't complete trash, was Drew Maggi. Maggi? I think it's Maggi because he's Italian. 33 years old, makes his MLB debut.
Yeah.
Like, you want to be able to replicate that in these games, and hockey has that same setup where I want to be able to replicate Martin St. Louis going undrafted and having to battle his way to the pros. I want to replicate a European player because we see that all the time. We're seeing it right now in certain signings for next season already, where it's like, oh, who is this guy? He's just randomly coming over now from overseas because he was doing really well. Interesting. Like, there's just so many different, without it being like predetermined story paths, just so many different starting points you could have for a Be a Pro to make it more interesting.
Yeah.
Just a lot of potential on the line there. But I do agree. Like that, just even that basic bit of a journey for MLB, starting in AA and working your way up.
It's the best. It's the
great.
best. Yeah, I love it. That's like my favorite part about it, is being able to start down there. And yeah.
Like I said, for me, like I think, because you've heard me complain about this a ton, the ECHL and how it's not factored in the franchise mode or Be a Pro seems ridiculous to me. Like, you're not making the most of that mode, because we see stories every once in a while of, man, this guy started out in the ECHL and now he is here in the NHL.
Yeah, JB won Kelly Cup, Calder Cup, and a Stanley Cup. Like,
dude, that'd be a great fucking series to try and win a championship. I mean, it'd be difficult too, because it'd be like, well, if I do too good in the AHL and we don't win, I got to get myself sent back down.
Yeah, like it's crazy. That's again why, that idea of having the customization of being able to run the club and have that Be a Pro is like, dude, I'm a sub 70 overall. Why do you have me on the first line? Like, kind of thing. Like, I would like, it should be factored in more your overall to where you are. Like, I get why performance is more important and it makes more sense, but that's why I want the ability to just be like, keep myself here. I want to grind here. I want to play a full AHL season. I want to fight for the Calder Cup, and I want to earn my experience like that. I want to tear it up down there.
Well, especially too, right? If you're not a first overall pick or top 5 or top 10, like, that is more likely to be your experience, is being down in the AHL and it taking a little bit of time for you to actually get to the pros. out of intrigue, I'm going to look up the scoring from this most recent AHL season because I was working and am working on a video talking about prior draft picks, and more recent names had come to mind. Like Elias Anderson was like 7th overall. He played exclusively in the AHL this year, and of course people are going to be like, he's a bust, and well, maybe. But yeah, there are guys down in the AHL that were first round picks or, medium round picks as well that just haven't, made that jump yet. And yeah, why can't we kind of replicate that play style?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's funny because it's like you look at the top of the AHL scoring and it's like, or a great example to kind of segue towards more modern hockey talk, Ty Cartier on Seattle, who went from undrafted to AHL Rookie of the Year to playing with the Kraken in the playoffs now, where he has 3 points in 7 games.
Yeah.
That should be what Be a Pro is all about instead of what it is. But hey, maybe someday. Who's to say? I will be sending this conversation to certain people.
Yeah. Good.
With that, we will get into some viewer questions. Before we do so, though, as always, need to mention that this podcast is brought to you by our lovely friends at Manscaped. You can go to manscaped.com and use the code Tougie, that's Tougie, for 20% off your first order and get free shipping as a bonus. Of course, we have talked about our friends at Manscaped for years now. They've been with us here. And again, they are still offering you simply the best that you can get in men's grooming, whether it be the Performance Package 4.0, the, of course, Beard Hedger Pro Kit. Sin's still rocking that comb as much as he can because it's a damn good product. Head to toe, they got you covered. Shout out to Manscaped for sponsoring the show. Let's get to those viewer questions. And, Sinner, you hungry? Because 2 of them are about pizza.
Yeah, you know what? Yeah, I just saw that on the sheet, and I'm struggling to remember the name of the brand, but I'll bring it up, and then people will be able to hit some bingo spaces.
There you go. Our first question, though, is from Rafi. What is the worst game in any sport that you have ever watched in terms of the result for your favorite team or player? Because saying in terms like, oh, what's the worst officiated game you could remember would make it impossible to answer, he says. So the worst experience you can remember in watching a sport or one of your favorite teams. I mean, for both of us, the obvious answer has to be certain Stanley Cup Finals.
Yeah, like it really does have to be Game 6 of the Stanley Cup Finals in 2016. Just seeing the heartbreaking look on Thornton and Marlowe's faces, realizing that's probably their last shot.
Yeah.
Like more than likely their last shot.
And knowing that people like them enough to not meme them to death like Brad Marchand. Who in fairness had one.
Yeah. Like that was probably the worst experience. Like there's been blowouts and stuff where you just hate life. Certain playoff losses, like when the Sharks allowed 4 goals in like the first 5 minutes against Vegas in a Game 6 or something. I can't even. Maybe it was even a Game 7. One of the times they got eliminated. Like those were awful, but it's just that one hurt so bad.
It is always those high stake losses, and we've been hyping up this video for a little bit. Endo, do you still have a video? Hopefully very soon, Endo, talking about basically the Bruins' history of choking. And it's like, there's a lot of bad losses, and still obviously in recent memory, we're not that far off from a frankly terrible loss to have to deal with. I've mentioned especially the first loss to the Giants for the Patriots, losing a perfect season like that sucks. Even from an individual standpoint, like I can think back to, it's funny. I don't know why this question made me remember this. Back when I could stomach kind of supporting the UFC before it just became clear how shit of a company that must be to work for. I was a huge fan of Carlos Condit, who had a welterweight title shot against George St. Pierre. And George St. Pierre kicked the shit out of him for the first 2.5 rounds. And in the middle of round 3, he lands, Condit does, this head kick that takes St. Pierre down. I'm watching it with my buddy who's a GSP fan. I jump out of my fucking chair. St. Pierre survives and dominates the next 2.5 rounds. That's a fucking heartbreak right there. That brief glimpse of one of the biggest wins ever, and it didn't happen. That's a heartbreak, damn it, that came to mind for me. But yeah, good times. Good times. From Bud Knight, what's everyone's favorite style of pizza? In brackets, feel free to go on a rant about pizza in general. And Reds Rebels responded in response, what's the best brand of frozen pizza?
We can start with the brand question, I guess. I'm trying to remember the name of it now. And I'm not going to remember the name of it. All I know is it costs about €4.50 and you get 2 frozen pizzas in one box at Lidl, however you want to say it.
That was my answer too.
Yes! Like, dude, here's the thing. It's good. It's solid. It's good, solid pizza.
Yep.
And it's so inexpensive. It's the only way, yeah. Shout out to Finland.
You had these last June when we went to Finland, and I did not. And then we, of course, were there in February. And we had ourselves a day. We won't get into the details, but we had ourselves a day in terms of prepping for the broadcast that we had to do.
Oh my God, yeah.
We took a lot of steps that day.
Yeah, a lot of
We may have walked
steps
around an entire convention center in below freezing temperatures because of a massive misunderstanding. We get done with this. We spent about 45 minutes outside and 5 minutes inside. We get back to the Airbnb that we're staying in, and before we get there, I text the fiance, who of course got to go with me last time. She stayed back at the Airbnb, and it was, can you pop these in the oven for us? So we get back to this place, and you and I are just quiet. And just, especially you, we're just quiet and trying to decompress and just enjoy the food that is in front of us.
Mm-hmm.
And holy hell if that pizza wasn't goddamn delicious.
Oh, yeah.
Like, exactly what we needed at the time. Even she was just like, he wasn't okay, was he? And I'm like, he needed the time to settle, because as we've always said, it was like, normally when there's, in terms of our personality types, normally there is the I am more venting of the two. That's going to be very surprising to some people. And you're a lot more of the just like type.
Yeah. Internalize.
This time you internalized to the point where you were dead silent.
Yeah. That's always the warning. When I
like there was no like, yeah, no, I mean that sucked, but it's gonna be all. That was me. I was the one going, yeah, you know, that fucking sucked, but we're gonna laugh about this for a long time. And you're just like,
Yeah. You know, our dynamic's pretty good, because generally when the way things line up is like one of us takes that role of like, all right, let's try to be positive and push through no matter what happens. That was you that day. Sometimes when we play NHL, it's me being like, it's all good, man, bounces, blah, blah, blah. Other times it's you. Like, we have such a good dynamic in that way where it's never just both of us at the same time just completely shitting on something. Maybe that's happened a couple times, but it's few. It's always that thing of like,
hey, that's why Architect and I don't play games together anymore. Because we're both just like, that's fucking sucks. just feeding into it. Oh, God. It's beautiful. Was there a favorite style of pizza? I don't have a preference. Pizza's just goddamn delicious. It's a problem.
Yeah, like I have a lot of opinions about it, as probably I've mentioned several times, because I feel like we've talked about pizza several times due to viewer questions. Yeah, I worked for like 5 years on and off at this pizza place in my old hometown, and obviously learned a lot about how to make pizza. It was mostly delivery, which is a great job, by the way. If you guys are out there in your early 20s looking to make some bank, delivery is a great option. But I also may have been spoiled. I lived in a kind of small-ish middle-class town, and they tipped real well. And nothing was too hard to find. Not a whole lot of apartments, which is great, because apartment complexes suck. But yeah, so I can be not an elitist, but a bit of a connoisseur when it comes to like pizza and what I think's the best. But in my probably best opinion, you don't really ever need to go past two toppings.
Fair.
There's so many good combinations of two toppings. Pepperoni mushroom, great. That's elite. Pepperoni, extra cheese on top of the pepperoni, traps in some of that grease for extra flavor. Elite. There's a bunch more. Pepperoni jalapeno is a great one to try if you like some spice too. But yeah, that's kind of my thing. Like, stick to about two toppings. Mix up the sauces if you want. Red sauce is some white sauce is a great other pizza is just a pesto sauce and plain cheese.
In case you were all wondering why the episode title was Pizza Elitist.
Yes. See, I didn't want to say that, but I went with connoisseur instead of I could be at times a pizza elitist. Do not put pineapple on your fucking pizza. Plain and simple. Don't do it.
I don't mind it, but it's never something that I'm like, ooh, we're ordering pizza, let me get this. But if I go somewhere and it's there, I will have it.
Unless it's the only pizza there, then I might stomach it.
I would take it over like, oh, here's mushrooms or peppers, for example.
Who the fuck only puts mushrooms on their pizza? I mean, is that the only thing on the pizza, or is it even with something else you won't eat it?
Yeah, it's a consistency for me. Don't like the taste.
Okay, no, that makes sense because I don't eat raw tomato because of consistency and like the texture. But I'll eat it cooked all day.
There you go. I found out today that, or it was yesterday, I think it was one of the most popular posts on Reddit, that pineapple has a stinging kind of texture to it when you eat it because it is literally leaving microscopic, like, pineapple needles into your tongue and mouth as you eat it. Essentially, it's its built-in defense mechanism. Yeah. And people are just like, well, it's fucking delicious. Don't care. So big fan of eating foods that would kill you if they actually could. Big fan. Mm-hmm. With that, should we get into some hockey or do we have other things to ramble about?
No, I don't know, man. We went off for a good almost half hour about MLB and what could be improved about career modes and pizza. This has been great.
It is. And now it goes downhill with hockey. It's what this podcast was always meant to be. Let's be honest. But there was a little bit of news over the past couple of days outside of the playoffs. And the most recent piece of news that we have here before we kind of get into the playoffs, the Ottawa Senators and their potential sale. It has been confirmed that the Remington Group that was also associated with the likes of Ryan Reynolds have backed out of potential negotiations to buy the Ottawa Senators. Snoop Dogg's group is still in the running, apparently, but yeah, no Ryan Reynolds co-ownership of the Ottawa Senators, which I gotta be honest is kind of a bummer. Just because I felt like it was one of the more positive moments that team's had in a long time when it was like, hey, Ryan Reynolds is here in the box watching the game. And the crowd there gave him a standing ovation. Like, yes, please be a part of this new ownership group. So we'll see what happens. Details are still coming out about why the deal fell apart and stuff like that. But still no word on the Sens.
Honestly, I hope Snoop gets in on it, and I hope he has some kind of decent control when it comes to marketing, because he's going to crush it. People aren't going to like it because it's going to be different, but it's going to be good for the game and good for the team. Plain and simple. That man is a marketing genius.
Can you imagine Snoop doing like an IG live with Brady Tkachuk? And how good that would be for the sport?
Yeah, like hockey has just such like old school and conservative mentality. It's so stupid. Like, it's gonna turn into baseball if it's not careful.
Honestly, I mean, I think baseball realized they were baseball and started letting people have more personality finally, and being able to show it,
and stopped with the goddamn unwritten rules.
They did for the most part.
Yeah, I still look back to that Was it? Oh, shit, I'm forgetting his name now. That poor kid who tragically died in like I think a boating accident. Played for the Marlins.
Jose
pitcher.
Fernandez.
Thank you. I was gonna say that, and then my brain told me it was wrong. When he hit his like first homer, fucking blasted it. Literally looked at it for too long. Yeah. And as he ran around the bases, people were yelling at him. The catcher blocked him from home plate to like have a conversation with him. Like, bro, it's a pitcher, number one. It's his first homer, number two. Of course, you're going to look at it for a little bit. It's natural. People should celebrate a home run. It's the most exciting play in baseball. It should be celebrated. Fans celebrate it. Why can't players? Like, I'm glad they're finally starting to turn it around.
Yeah, it did get to that point where finally people are like, yeah, you know what? This is fine. I think, honestly, a big moment was Jose Batista's bat flip for the Blue Jays, where people were like, this is just so fucking cool. Why don't we allow this? What the hell?
Yeah.
Just finally had that moment of like, why are we having a problem with this? This is fun. But yeah, no doubt. Like back in the day, if you looked at a home run too long or flipped your bat, yeah, the next at bat, they'd throw at you.
That's crazy.
It's like, don't be shit. Don't throw someone a pitch that they managed to hit out. Like,
yeah,
be better.
Like that's the thing. It's just like, why are you so soft? And then the same people who applaud that be like, yeah, throw at the people. They're the ones who call everyone else soft, which is hilarious because they have the most delicate sensibilities on the planet. Anyway.
I hear nothing but truths. Speaking of delicate people, the management group of the Philadelphia Flyers, they have done a thing again, as they continue to compete with the likes of Edmonton and Boston for the biggest boys club in hockey. We knew there was going to be a change at the top, and boy, isn't there a change. Keith Jones, who, for those in the U.S., you have known Keith Jones as an analyst for the likes of NBC, NBCSN, even TNT, I think, is where he is with TNT/TBS as of right now. As well, he had done coverage for the Flyers, had a radio morning show, so on and so forth. As a former member of the Philadelphia Flyers, former Portland Pirate as well, so go Keith, fuck yeah. As a former Philadelphia Flyer, with no previous front office management experience whatsoever, Keith Jones has been named as president of hockey operations for the Philadelphia Flyers. Keith Jones seems like a very nice man. He does. And I hope for his sake this works out, because the vitriol that will be thrown his way, even though he's immediately being thrown into the deep end, will be drastic. Based upon, and I'm not saying that other fan bases don't do this, they do. I was going to mention a little bit later on how Wes McCauley mentioned that his family had been receiving threats over social media in the aftermath of the Lightning Leafs series in the first round, and you know, that's what happens when people shine a spotlight on a referee in particular, and the concept of, oh, are they intentionally screwing this team? You have the fucking crazies out there who go nuts. And yeah, people will fucking say horrible shit and who knows what else in Keith Jones' direction if this does not work out. And you kind of leads him with the idea of if this does not work out, because the odds are against him.
Yeah. It's a shit situation he's walking into, for one.
I'm sure the paycheck makes it worth it, but
100%, yeah.
Ooh. Yeah, I mean, again, 23 years between Flyers TV broadcasts. You have all the NBC stuff like that here in the States. I mean, again, it's going to be his first time in an NHL front office. No prior experience with that whatsoever is kind of crazy. And a large response that I have seen, like the sentiment has been, oh, but at least new GM, because Danny Briere has now had the interim tag taken off of him. At least new GM, Danny Briere, won't have someone meddling above him. That's been the only defense I've really seen for this move, which I don't know. Maybe Flyers fans are just so traumatized from the way this team has been run in the past 10, 15 years? I don't know. But best of luck to Keith Jones and Danny Briere in these new roles. John Tortorella is still on as head coach. The Flyers are one of the larger messes in the NHL. There's a lot to fix there. And fair play if Keith Jones, Danny Briere, and company can fix it. And I think the Flyers knew that this move would be viewed this way because they followed up with the idea of, oh, here's Keith Jones. He's a great guy, but he's inexperienced. They have slightly changed the shade of orange.
What?
Quote, a new era of orange is their current Twitter headline. And they released a full statement about this that's 3 fucking mini paragraphs to hype up the fact that they now have a new, slightly darker shade of orange as their primary color. Philadelphia hockey, everybody.
I'm trying to like compare.
Here, I can get you. I can get you a spot on. I can get you a spot on comparison for this.
Beautiful,
because it was posted by a lovely advanced stats page on Twitter at AR Hockey Stats. Andy and Rono, they do tremendous work. Yeah, they now have a slightly darker shade of orange and a president of hockey ops with no front office experience. So, Philadelphia.
Okay, yeah, I see it. All right.
You're doing great, sweetie. You're doing great. A few other random things. Shout out to the Edmonton Oil Kings of the WHL, who with the 12th pick in the WHL entry draft select Joe Iginla. Jerome Iginla's son, Joe. That is now his second son to be drafted into the WHL. His other son was drafted by the Seattle Thunderbirds, and his daughter plays for, I believe, Brown University. So
awesome.
Shout out to the Iginlas. Of all the players where you just be like, yeah, their kids are going to get into hockey and do good things, Jerome Iginla would be up there.
Yeah, and it's also like we're not that far removed from them being drafted in the NHL, and then me feeling exceptionally old to be like, yeah, I remember watching Jerome Iginla, like not even as a kid.
Yeah,
and now
he was a Bruin less than 10 years ago.
Yeah, and like now his kids are in the NHL. Oh boy, I'm getting to that stage of my life where I'm watching second generations. Like that of who I watched the first generation, and really, because I mean, there's been others, obviously, like Dahlin with the Sharks. Like, Ulf Dahlin played with the Sharks. I barely remember that. Like,
right.
Other things like that. Yeah, this one, it's like, of course you remember Iginla.
Yeah, I mean, even in this most recent draft, there were a couple of examples who, admittedly, are escaping me a little bit, but yeah, every year it starts, especially the NFL. The NFL's terrible for that right now. I don't know what the hell is going on with the NFL, but I hate it. Like Asante Samuel Jr. is a star in the NFL, or maybe not a star, but still a very prominent former first round pick in the NFL now with the Chargers. Like early second rounder. I hate it. But yeah, Jerome's older son will turn 17.
Good.
17? Yeah, 17 later on this summer. And the son that was just drafted.
I mean, he won't be draft eligible. No, he'll be draft eligible
next year.
Won't. Yeah, he will. Fuck!
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, it might. You're right. It might be too late. August 1st. Depends on when it rolls over. But, and his other son was also born in August. He's 14
well, he'll be
right now.
17. If it's in August, 17-year-olds get drafted, and it's only like...
Yeah.
So
it's those later birthdays.
It won't be this draft. It should be next, unless...
It will be next draft.
Yeah,
maybe the one
just
after,
turned
but
17. Yeah.
We're old.
Yeah.
It's terrible.
I had the one moment when like I got to the point where I started being older than the people that were being drafted.
Yeah.
Like that was interesting. I'm like, huh. And then it's like that was like more of like shit. The fuck am I doing with my life? That was like how that felt early on. Like these kids are about to be making hundreds of thousands, and then they'll get millions. Yeah, that's interesting.
Did you ever have that conversation of like, oh yeah, like it's 2009, 2012 is my draft year, man.
Yeah, like because obviously 2008 was my draft year,
and then it gets to be 2012, and you're just like, fuck. that guy shares a birthday with me, and he just got drafted like 3rd overall. What the hell is going on?
Yep.
So, beautiful, absolutely beautiful. A few other things. Actually, wow, there was more here than I thought there was. Pretty rough news for the Colorado Avalanche. Captain Gabriel Landeskog, after missing this entire season, is expected to miss all of next year as well.
Wow.
He did post an update today, all smiles, after successful surgery, cartilage transplant in his right knee. Mark Mathot, granted, not everyone's the same. Mark Mathot, former, NHL defender, talked about how he had the same thing done and how it wasn't pretty. For now, there's some optimism from Landeskog himself that he'll be able to come back. Obviously, a lot of people are just like, I hope you do, but it's not looking too good.
Yeah.
He certainly kind of embodied the freaking put it all on the line concept when going for a Stanley Cup. The guy is going to turn 31 this fall. You hope that's not it for him. I mean, you and I have called out, rightfully so, like, oh, he has some over-aggressive tendencies on the ice on occasion.
Yeah.
But that doesn't take away from the fact that he is a phenomenal goddamn hockey player. That's what makes those moments more frustrating, essentially, is, man, what are you doing that for? Like, you were the fucking 2nd overall pick and you're an amazing player. What are you doing? But yeah, I mean, hopefully we haven't seen the end of him in the NHL, but it's going to be a long time. It's already been a long time. And it's going to be a long time before he takes the ice again, if ever.
I just hope if he tries to push it and play hockey, I hope that he's not risking like quality of life down the road. I would much rather see him retire, Stanley Cup under his belt and be able to have a good quality of life and be able to walk until he's very, very old.
I think that's the common sentiment people have had. He has 2 kids, and it's like, You've already reached the mountaintop.
Yeah,
and what might have been your final game.
You got to be able to enjoy Johannes, man.
Yeah, you hope for his sake that if it's borderline of like, all right, you can come back, but I don't know, for his sake. And I mean, again, it's not our spot. It'd be up to him. But you would just hope that he would have the wherewithal and the people around him to just be like, hey, enjoy your life, because I mean, you've already done it in hockey. You won the goddamn Stanley Cup,
Yep.
Had the hell of a career, to say the least. And hopefully it's not over. There were a few other award finalists announced. The Ted Lindsay, which again is voted on by the players for essentially the best player. Erik Karlsson, Connor McDavid, and David Pastrnak are the final 3. Boy, I wonder who's going to win that.
It should be Connor McDavid. Even though I'm very, very glad to see Karlsson up there, and he should be, because this goes to show you that players in the NHL are very willing to accept that trade-off of him maybe not being the greatest defensively for the sheer amount, of offensive input he puts out as a defenseman. That just goes to show you that, everyone who's like, hey, he's fucking doesn't deserve anything. He's shit at defense. He's a forward. NHL players like him. And they think he's one of the best players. And he is.
I wonder how they feel about Adam Fox. Hopefully the same way.
And maybe they'll join in on hyping him up so he'll continue to be lackluster.
There you go.
I know. I know. And I'm sorry, Rangers fans, for shitting on him. But here's the thing. Y'all have hyped him up and told me over and over and over again, like, how good he is defensively, how much he deserves this, how he deserves his nowhere over everyone else because of his 2-way game. I don't see it. I paid close attention to him in the Jersey series, especially towards the end. He's lost in his own end. Sorry, and maybe that was just the whole team was shit, but I don't see it, boys. I don't see it.
The Vezina finalists were announced as well. Connor Hellebuck, Ilya Sorokin, and eventual winner, Linus Allmark. A lot of people are mad about Saros being off the list, but I mean, hey, someone was bound to get left off. But yeah, no, I mean, who really cares if you're left off the list? Allmark's going to win the damn thing, as he should. Especially because it's a regular season award. And he wasn't hurt in the regular season and playing when he shouldn't have been. Damn it.
Yeah,
Jim.
That's an odd decision, Jim.
Yeah, but we'll keep an eye on those. And then I mentioned the lottery. Obviously, a lot of people were throwing out the term rigged. I enjoyed using the term rigged because, let's be honest, it's good bait. And it worked tremendously. I got some damn good comments that I got to laugh my ass off in the YouTube side of things. Elliot Friedman mentioned this on his show. Quote, "When it comes to the lottery results, I was shocked. I can't tell you how many people around the league who I consider to be very smart were convinced that it was rigged. People in the league on teams came to me and said, quote, this is rigged." Now, obviously, Elliot's not saying he agrees with those people, but that is how dirty all of this feels. The sentiment is clearly, well, how fucking fortunate is this for Chicago? You get a generational talent after receiving a lesser punishment than what Arizona faced for improperly timed prospect workouts. You faced a lesser punishment than New Jersey, who got in trouble for signing Kovalchuk to what was at the time a legal contract. You did not lose a draft pick this year or last year, and likely it would have been this year's, given that last year's pick was a part of a trade. July 23rd, 2021, their first round pick was involved in the Seth Jones trade. In October of 2021 is when the league came down with their punishment of a $2 million fine. Meaning, if you had done a first round pick punishment, like you did for, say, Arizona for improper workouts, Chicago wouldn't have even had this pick. They wouldn't have. The Hawks sold over $5 million worth of season tickets in about 24 hours, more than double what their fine was for the Kyle Beach stuff. And, you know, it's been the common theme, right? Whether it's been on YouTube, Twitter, whatever. I'm not saying that Hawks fans have to feel guilty. It's not your fault what happened. I've always said that it is a great fan base, because it is. But if you feel uncomfortable about enjoying this because of what people are saying about your team, maybe that's not a bad thing.
I would say it's a good thing, and if you don't feel uncomfortable, that might be time for some introspection. Because if you don't recognize that this is kind of wrong, and then you're not really recognizing the breadth of the situation and the series of events that have led to this point. And there's a lot of people out there proudly to not giving a fuck. You won't believe some of the disgusting comments that I got to my tweet about not forgetting about Kyle Beach in all of this. And they got worse over time. Something like people claiming if you're 6 foot and over 200 pounds, you don't just get raped. Fucking disgusting. Just uneducated motherfuckers.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. In regards to those people, right? And just I'll finish up my part here. Like, maybe you should feel uncomfortable rooting for a team that's still owned by Rocky Wirtz. And I've seen the defense of like, oh, but like the people involved at Quinville Bowman, they're gone. Rocky isn't. Oh, but his son's taken more of a hands-on approach with the team. Rocky's in the background. He still owns them. Oh, and that son that you're talking about that's at the forefront, who does seem like a good dude, that is the same son that Rocky Wirtz humiliated in public. Shut down a response from like he was a small child speaking up at the table when it wasn't his place while Rocky was yelling at Mark Lazarus for asking a question about what the team's been doing to follow up on their promises as Rocky Wirtz shouts, "We're moving on." At the end of the day, it is what it is, though. Nothing's going to change. They're not going to lose a draft pick. Chicago Sports 42 on Twitter can yell at whoever they want, us included. I could be called a liberal soy boy cuck who doesn't care and is just using these stories as an excuse to hate on their team, their beautiful, perfect team. Which again is worth a good laugh. I treat those type of people, Sin, like you just mentioned on Twitter. I treat those type of people like I treat Twitch trolls. I'm not going to ban you. If anything, I'm just going to kind of encourage you and bait you because you are still generating interaction on my stuff, helping my platform look better. So I will gladly use that because I do not care at all about their opinions, right? Like, it doesn't.
I mute a couple because they're fucking lost, but I don't block. The only people I block are blue check marks.
Fair. Easy designation. Just, hey, your opinion doesn't matter.
God damn, yeah, it's nuts. Like how much, like I don't even look at tweets anymore because how it's programmed now. All the stuff you first say are people with blue check marks. There's no longer any funny fucking responses. Those people are the most unfunny bunch of fuckers on the planet. Like, and they try to buy engagement. And God, you're pathetic.
It's people like that where it's like I just, it's one of those things where it's like say whatever the hell you want. Say this about me, my friends, whatever the hell, because we stated like, hey, yeah, this is very convenient for Chicago. Again, it's not someone's opinion that I'm going to value. Like, this Sunday, I accidentally fucked up and missed a Sports Gamer cast that we were supposed to do. That bothered me to think that I let people like you down. It does not bother me that Chicago Sports for Life on Twitter thinks I'm a soy boy cuck because I think their owner's a piece of shit.
Yeah. He is a piece of shit. Yeah.
So, again, nothing will change. Connor Bedard will play in Chicago. He's not going to pull a Lindros, and it's not his job to pull a Lindros and take a stand here. That was the NHL's job, and they dropped the ball. This never should have been a situation, which is why people are saying it feels like it's rigged, because you had a team that deserves a lot less than what they're getting. And in terms of, you do not deserve a Connor Bedard, Rocky Wirtz. Hawks fans might, damn good fan base. Rocky Wirtz does not deserve a Connor Bedard.
Yeah.
But he's getting him.
And one more thing, and I'm not going to try to break out the tinfoil hats on this, but the auditing company that has before audited the NHL draft lottery stuff, and the reason why they say it's legit, they've actually been caught in auditing fraud. Just saying.
Yep, I saw that too.
Like, can the NHL just not have a dark cloud, a dark shadow of a doubt on everything they do? Again, this is not confirmation. Correlation does not equal causation. This is not, you can't let your confirmation bias come into effect here. It could mean nothing. Could be, maybe they're legit in this case. But here's the thing. They were caught in being frauds with their audits. And that's the company that has said the NHL's lotteries are legit. Like, it's just, there's everything that the NHL seems to do has this stain of illegitimacy on it. And it sucks because I want to enjoy this fucking sport.
Yep. Yeah, I mean, that's ultimately what it comes down to, right? Is the idea of like, okay, there's no way this was... Of course there's always a way. Oh, but they filmed the whole thing with the... There is always a way. Yeah. Because they are not a trustworthy source. Whether it be the NHL themselves or the people that they've gotten to conduct this process in the first place.
Yeah, especially now with gambling involved. Like, it's just...
Well, that's the perfect segue to that final point. News out of Canada. An Ontario-based group headlined by Carl Subban, father of former NHLer PK, and of course goaltender Jordan as well, is asking the NHL to remove or at least regulate the amount of sports gambling ads on Sportsnet, at least in Ontario. This is from the article. If you've watched any playoff games on Canadian broadcaster Sportsnet this season, then you've been subjected to nearly 10 minutes of gambling ads per game. as
Insane.
stated by the group. Quote, "It's a big problem. Gambling's very addictive," said Subban, who's also a school principal. A lot of the marketing is focused on grabbing the attention of the most vulnerable, the youngest of our population.
That's exactly the goal of it.
100%.
Especially with the way VPNs work, there are underage people gambling, 100%. And I know that for a fact. And the crazy thing is that, dude, like a lot of these things, I'm not going to call it out by name. I'm sure a lot of people will know what I'm talking about. But one of, the biggest kind of personalities out there sponsored by these gambling people, like, a lot of his audience is younger. He appeals to those kind of people. I mean, he appeals to me. I'm a fucking kid at heart too, but like, and I know, 19 plus, please play responsibly. Like, that's the Canadian law, of course. It's essentially like, yes, what you're doing is not like illegal by any means. You have that disclaimer, but like the people that they're putting these ads on are clearly, majority of their watchers are, as stated, the most vulnerable, and that's exactly what it is. This is the smoking industry all over again.
Yeah, can't disagree with it. I mean, it's gotten kind of crazy, and I mean, there are people out there where I've seen their communities kind of throw that backlash towards them, just in terms of like, Jesus, like I get you got to put food on the table, but just the amount of promotion for gambling. Like, we ran one sponsor that was a fantasy sports deal that did prop bets, not for this Super Bowl, but last year. And even with that, do we want to do that? It's just because it's one of those things where it's such a fine line between, okay, it's gambling, it's adults, you know what the hell you're getting into, versus just knowing the effect it can have on people.
Yeah.
And while some people be like, it's not my fucking responsibility. Like, hey, you got to control yourself. But for me, I'm just like, I don't know if I feel right about it. And at the end of the day, there's a lot of fucking money to be made. I mean, these gambling outlets are going fucking 7 feet first, not just their 2 feet. They're grabbing their buddies and jumping in together. One of them's missing a leg. And it's gotten out of control. It has. I am in complete agreement with Mr. Subban on this one, but who knows if anything will happen. I doubt it, because there's too much money to be made. So, happy, fun times. With that, playoffs to round this out. Want to quickly talk about this shit show of a series between Edmonton and Vegas, which is now at a 2-2 split. Vegas winning game 3, 5-1 in Edmonton. Jack Eichel had a 3-point night. Before the Golden Knights, Laurent Brossoit went down injured after 11 minutes. Aiden Hill stepped in, stopped all 24 shots he faced in a win, while on the other side, Stuart Skinner played just 32 minutes, but he was pulled after allowing 4 goals. Not the first time in this postseason Skinner's been taken out mid-game, but the Oilers did bounce back, taking game 4 last night 4-1, because again, there's just no such thing as a close playoff game anymore for the most part. Seems like every damn game is
it's crazy.
A 1-goal game or a blowout, essentially. It's kind of ridiculous. But the Oilers win game 4. Aiden Hill kind of turned back into a pumpkin. He allowed 4. Stuart Skinner only allowing the 1. And then we get into the big news. There was a fight in the final minute between Darnell Nurse and Nick Hague. Nurse was charged with an instigator penalty for a fight in the last 5 minutes, meaning he is subject to suspension and a $10,000 fine for Woodcroft, which is exactly what happened. Darnell Nurse has been suspended for Game 5, and Oilers coach Jay Woodcroft was fined $10,000 for this fight, which is kind of crazy. And then, because it gets more ridiculous, and also worth noting that rule 46.21 about the automatic suspension and fine for the instigator. In game number 3, Evander Kane cross-checked the fuck out of Alex Pietrangelo.
Yeah, in the upper body. Was it
in
in the face? I
pretty much.
didn't get a good look at it. All I saw was the farther back views of it.
I believe he cross-checked him again, leading to a scrum. So it was the second time in 2 games that Evander Kane had done that.
Yeah, and this one was. Is it the one I'm thinking of where Petro kind of went into the boards and was looking like head first?
Yes.
This is the one where I could see an argument that it's a hockey play. It didn't look like he was cross-checking him. It looked like he's, trying to keep his man on. Petro turns right into the fucking boards, which kind of don't do that. Like, that's putting yourself in a shit position. It is Evander Kane, so he shouldn't really get much benefit of the doubt. But that's one where I'm like, that's kind of a hockey play. It could just be a shit accident. But again, Evander Kane, you've lost all benefit of the doubt. But honestly, Petro is the same way, where it's hard to feel bad about him because he's been dirty as fuck his whole career. Now, I mean, people are finally starting to realize that now. And it's been, they're more willing to look at the Golden Knights and the shit things that they do now.
Well, there was a play that people noticed, let me tell you, because in response to all of this, Leon Draisaitl going down the right side of the ice, from his perspective at least, Alex Pietrangelo chases him down from the far side and axe chops him. Overhead axe chops him right in the fucking elbow at the end of the game, leading to another scrum, particularly with Connor McDavid. McDavid, who said after the game he'd love to see Pietrangelo be suspended. He is going to have a hearing that will not occur. Actually, it's supposed to occur today. But no word is out yet at the time of recording, even though we're recording later. Given how the Department of Player Safety conducts themselves, who knows?
Yeah.
But I do think if you're going to give Darnell Nurse that automatic 1-game suspension for instigating, Alex Pietrangelo should probably miss Game 5 as well.
I still don't know how he was called for instigating. Like, they were going at it all fucking night.
Yeah.
Like, they wanted it together all fucking night. Like, that's a weird call to me. But
can't disagree.
Whatever. It's the NHL.
That's the thing. This is what happens. Now, Oilers fans, the Golden Knights are dirty. Golden Knights fans, the Oilers are dirty. Both your fucking teams are dirty. Because every fucking team is dirty, because it's the playoffs, and there's no consistency with officiating or from the Department of Player Safety. So everyone is gooning it the fuck up, Sam Bennett. And it's just what it is. That's the only way to say it. It is what it is. This is what they want playoff hockey to be. And I have a theory as to why. And I'll talk about that once we get to the Leafs and Panthers.
To hear this. But I am going to say, here's my theory about this whole situation. They would have overturned that Nurse suspension if they weren't going to suspend Pietrangelo.
I think I agree with that.
I have a theory on that because they're so fucking anal about keeping things even in game management. They're going to do series management too. Like they have,
yeah.
I'll be surprised if he's not. I mean, I won't be because it's Vegas. But at this point, it's not Vegas from 3 years ago. This is there's a Kraken now. Vegas. They're not the new toy anymore.
Very true. So in the series so far, Oilers are led by Draisaitl and McDavid, each with 7 points in the 4 games. You have Bouchard and Hyman with 5, but their depth scoring is still really struggling, especially Evander Kane, who in 4 games has 0 points and 38 penalty minutes. So
Evander Kane hockey. If he's that's Evander Kane. He's one of those kind of like Landeskog, obviously way worse. Is that you're good? What the fuck are you doing?
Yeah,
I asked that so many times. Besides, the first 2 years he was in San Jose, because that's when he always behaves. But he's going to start to go off the rails. The off ice stuff is my prediction going to start happening next year in Edmonton. He's been too good there. He's been too well behaved. It's coming out in his game. It's going to come out in his real life.
There you go. Stuart Skinner, .903 save percentage in the series so far, which The Golden Knights, led by Jack Eichel with just 5 points, but there was only one skater on the team who hasn't registered a point in this series so far, that being Keegan Colasar. So Oilers led by their stars, Vegas led by their depth. Water is wet. For Vegas's goaltenders, Brossoit has an .841 save percentage in 3 appearances. Aiden Hill, despite giving up 4 goals in the last game, has a .934. So we'll see what happens, and if Aiden Hill continues to kind of turn back into a pumpkin as the series goes back to Vegas. Sin, through 2 games. Any prediction on how this is going to go? Are you still thinking Oilers or?
I don't know. I'm kind of curious why they haven't gone back to Campbell at all yet, because as I recall, he did pretty good in his appearances.
Yeah,
for the
he
Oilers,
has done very well.
I hope Vegas's goaltenders continue to shit the bed, and I want the Oilers to move on because I want Connor McDavid and Draisaitl. I know I'd only say Connor McDavid, but Draisaitl's been unreal, absolutely unreal.
I don't think anybody can underappreciate him anymore. He has been insane. Insane.
Yeah, I might have to eat my words. I'm still to the point I'm hesitant to call him the second best player in the world because I do think people like McKinnon just drive the game much better. But Draisaitl's starting to, maybe swaying me on that. Just what he's he's starting to do that same bank the fucking shot off the back of the goalie's head and in shit that McDavid's done. He's just feeding off of that man. He's not just being benefited from being able to play with him. He's now getting better. Still.
Right. Yeah. Carolina and New Jersey. By the time people hear this show, series might be done. Game 5 is on now.
3 in a row for New Jersey. I need that pick, bitch.
Devils are up 1-0 at the end of the first period. But the Hurricanes are up 3-1 in the series after winning Game 4 6-1. What was a 3-point night for Jordan Martinook, and I'm not done referencing him yet. Freddie Anderson stopped 21 of 22. While the Devils started Vitek Vanacek again, who gave up 5 goals on 17 shots. Akira Schmid stopped 11 of 12. In the series so far, Jordan Martinook has 9 points in 4 games.
Yep.
The Hurricanes are winning the cup. Because this is voodoo magic, is the only thing I can think of. No Pacioretty, no Svechnikov, no Teuvo Teravainen. Yet somehow, players like Jordan Martinook are just fuck it, watch me. And putting up 9 points in 4 games.
Yep.
Ridiculous. Jordan Stahl has 6. Jesper Fast has 4. And from there it drops. But they do have great all-around scoring. It's just ridiculous. And Freddie Anderson with a .914 save percentage in the series, which is pretty decent. The Devils are led by Jack Hughes, who has 5 points in the series so far. Haula, Hamilton, Tatar, among others, have 0 points in the series. Vitek Vanacek, in 4 appearances, has an .824 save percentage.
Solid Eashel stats.
This is a great Eashel tandem, as Akira Schmidt, with 3 appearances, has an .833.
All right, ECL Elite Cup coming, Inc.
Get those
They're both
guys
Euros,
to
right?
Get those guys to Finland. I mean, Akira Schmidt, Switzerland, he could play for ZSC Esports.
Yeah, Vanacek. What is he, Czech?
Yeah, I think
Vitek Vanacek? Yeah, it sounds Czech. I mean, hey, Zolvi's Czech, so there you go. He could play in the ECL.
You never know. So again, Game 5 is on as we're recording this. We'll see if the Devils can extend this series or not. But, just their habit of, if they don't show up, it's ugly, is looking like it's going to sink them.
Yeah, I don't think they win 3 straight. I really, really wanted them to upset Carolina. And because, again, I want that other first pick. We fucking need it at this point.
It'll still be a half-decent pick, though, right? Instead of it being a first, is it still a second for the Meyer?
I'm
gonna look that up.
I can't remember. There's so many goddamn conditions on it. I can't remember exactly. But
so the Timo Meyer trade, Harrington, LOL, lost to waivers immediately. Meyer on 50% retained Zach Imon, Santeri Hataka, and Timur Abragamov, along with a 5th-round pick in 2024. That's Colorado's. For Andreas Janssen, Fabian Zetterlund, Nikita Hatyuk, Shakir Mukhamadullin, a 2023 first-round pick conditional. If the pick is a top 2 selection, the Devils will transfer their own first-round pick. The result to that is that the Sharks have the Devils' first-round pick this year.
Yeah.
There was a 2024 second-round pick. The conditions, if the Devils make the conference finals and Meyer plays in 50% of the games, or if the Devils make the conference final next year, then it becomes the 2024 first.
Oh, so I still have another chance at it.
You're still a Devils fan until after next year.
Devils! All right,
Yep,
let's
you
go.
are still a Devils fan in the Eastern Conference. However, if the 2024 first is top 10, then the Devils have the option to transfer the pick to 2025. And if it's a full moon on the day of the lottery,
Jesus Christ. Yeah,
then
I
Mike
didn't know
Greer
about
owes
that.
them 5 pence. Like,
Well,
what
then
the
I'm
fuck?
glad my want didn't go, because that would screw up my with that condition. I was like, hey, okay, Devils, make the conference finals this year, shit the bed next year, and we can get in Ottawa out of it.
Ridiculous.
No Stutzla.
No Stutzla. Kraken and Stars, also a 2-2 split after the Stars won game 4 6-3. A 3-point night for Max Domi. He's been awesome for them. Ottinger stops just 16 of 19. Not great, but gets the win. Grubauer, 17 of 22. Seeing Martin Jones play the third period, where he faced just 2 shots and stopped both of them.
Wow.
Holy controversy.
Good for him. Good for him.
2 saves. That's a Martin Jones shutout.
Oh, dude. The most hilarious thing about Martin Jones, for like 2 or 3 straight seasons, he allowed a goal in the first shot he faced in the season. It was fucking hilarious.
Well, speaking of hilarious, maybe the funniest goddamn thing I've ever seen. Mira Heiskanen played in this game, had a pretty bad game, as was highlighted by some certain analytical outlets on Twitter, which had the Dallas Stars Twitter admin likely forgetting what account they were on and calling out the analytics community for saying, how could you say he had a bad game? Think about his heart, his leadership, and what it meant for his teammates to see him there. It's like, buddy, it's okay. He had a bad game, but the rest of the team was good. That's why they won. That's a good thing that Mira Heiskanen had a bad game and you still won 6-3.
Yeah.
That's really good news.
Players are allowed to have bad games. It's going to happen. Like,
That
he's
they
not.
are.
He's one of the best defensemen in the NHL still.
Yes. But just the idea of, nope, even he might not be 100%, but you still can't say he had a bad game, because think about the morale he brings. Like,
Yeah, the intangibles.
he had a bad game. It's fine. Just let it be.
That is hilarious that dude forgot to log out.
In the series so far, the Stars are led by Max Domi with 7 points, ageless wonder Joe Pavelski with 6, and Jamie Benn with 5. Ottinger has an .860 save percentage in this series, and they have a 2-2 split.
He's been very inconsistent this playoffs in general. Kind of unfortunate to see, but he's still young, growing pains. I still want him to be an amazing goaltender.
Same. Just
for that performance last season, man.
Yeah. Seattle led in scoring by Vince Dunn so far. Numerous players with 4. Grubauer with an .875. Look good in moments, but overall, not a very pretty number. Game 5 is also tonight. See what happens there. Yeah. And then Toronto and Florida. Now, the draft lottery took our attention away from talking about the 3-0 Panthers series lead. People were already writing the Leafs obituaries, but the Leafs won Game 4 last night, 3-1. 2-1, I believe. Excuse me, that was a typo.
Yeah, 2-1.
So we get to hold off on the trade the core comments for one more game, as the Leafs win their first game in the second round since April 30th, 2004. Hell of a drought. Joseph Wall stops 24 of 25. And then we get to talk about all the other shit. Much like with the Oilers game. Michael Bunting, high-sticked, bloodied, 2-minute penalty. Radko Gudas crushes David Kampf late in the most textbook charge you've seen since your last Eschel drop-in game. Nothing.
Hey, he did glide into
penalty.
it. He did glide into it, to be fair. I would compare it closer to a more in-tight Torrey Krug.
Torrey Krug definitely not charging.
I mean... He
glided.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, he glided, but he also skated halfway across the ice. Like, Radko Gudas skated down for the blue line, but he started gliding at the hash marks.
End of the game.
Sorry, Leafs fans, I know, but it's... Yeah.
Matthew Tkachuk punches Mitch Marner in the face twice.
They probably
which
went and got
Marner
dinner
laughed
after
off,
that.
which good for Mitch. That was the response you needed to have to maybe get in their
Yeah.
heads a little bit.
They probably
Sam
had
Bennett,
dinner afterwards, to be honest. Like, they're
Yeah.
fucking London Knights boys, dude.
Sam Bennett continued to be Sam Bennett, who
He punched the ice, by the way. I hope it hurt. One of those punches hit directly on the ice, man.
So, I want to go in two different directions with this. First and foremost,
I'm
my
good with going
snarky
both
side.
ways.
Panthers out dirty the Bruins. Celebrations in the streets. Panthers out dirty the Leafs. You can't do that. Not allowed. And remember the conspiracy I talked about earlier? I think that is exactly what the NHL wants. They want online engagement of people being mad, and they want fan bases at each other's throats with toxicity. They want me, as a Bruins fan, to be toxic towards Leafs fans right now because we told you about this shit and you said, oh, stop whining. We won in the first round. You didn't. They want us to be toxic towards one another rather than being toxic towards George Peros all the time like we should be, or the NHL, or the standard of officiating. Well, guess what, George? I'll be toxic to both of you. Yeah, it's shit. Like, for the most part, again, like, just the inconsistencies of officiating, calls, so on and so forth. It's been bad. But we've been saying this the whole time. It's not a surprise. Sam Bennett. No shit, he's one of the dirtiest players in the league. I told you that 3 weeks ago.
I could have told you that a couple years ago when he was on the Flames.
Yeah, most people could have. Flames fans could have told you that. They saw it. They were just happy he benefited from it. It's like, well, shit, he's not who we thought we'd have with a top 5 pick, but, fucking punch a guy in the head when he's down.
You can look back. Sam Bennett with like 3 seconds left in the game that they were winning. Marc-Edouard Vlasic just chipped it out of the zone. Sam Bennett hit him number 1 late and just completely unnecessarily at the end of the game laid him the fuck out for no reason. A huge up high hit. Like, that's just Sam Bennett's been like that. He's still a 4th line plug. He just has better skill now. He finally grew into his skill, but
he figured out between the legs goal.
Yeah,
as well.
But he figured out that dirty shit works, especially in the playoffs. So he's tainted in that regard. People thought Kachuk was dirty. He's not. He's a pest. He doesn't. Okay, punching Martin in the face, like, yeah, a little bit dirty. But he's always trying to mix it up. He doesn't do like that. He doesn't spear people. He's not going around cross-checking people that often. Like, everyone does it after the whistle, sure. But, like, it's nothing he does is egregious. You're going to notice it more because you want to hate him. I understand that. Like, I totally get it. I would love that man on my team, but yeah, you hate to play against him. But
yeah,
he's got 5 fucking points, which is more than any player on the Leafs.
Yeah, so the Panthers.
I saw people trolling him. I saw a Leafs fan troll him. He's like, "Oh, he's got no goals." I'm like, he has more points in this series than your entire team does.
He is leading the Panthers with 5 points. Bobrovsky at 934 save percentage, by the way. And yeah, the Leafs are led in scoring by Mitch Marner and Morgan Riley with 3 points each.
Oof.
Not a winning formula, obviously, for the Toronto Maple Leafs. Ilya Samsonov, of course, is currently injured and not expected back, at least for Game 5. 892 save percentage in 3 appearances. Joseph Wall now with a 913 in 2 appearances, including becoming the youngest. It was some stat where he equaled out Felix Potvin in terms of like the youngest Leafs goalie to win like their first playoff start or something like that in team history. So good for Joseph Wall, but at the same time, I don't know what the confidence level is for like, okay, our playoffs hopes and dreams are dependent on Joseph Wall. But
he did good in that game.
Yeah.
But the stats, to be honest, Florida was awful in that game. That was the worst game I've seen them play all playoffs.
Easily.
Like, even against Bruins when they got blown out, dude, they just didn't fucking forecheck ever. Like, in that game. The first period, sure. Then they just stopped. And I would still love and part of me would love the Leafs to come back and get the reverse sweep. Just because I want that narrative of the underdog to be flipped on them. Because it kind of already is. You go up 3-0, you're no longer the underdog. You came in with that narrative, but now that you're up 3-0, you can't be the underdog anymore.
True.
And you can't blow that and still be like, well, we weren't supposed to win anyway. Motherfucker, you had a 3-0 lead. So like I'm interested to see how the mental, right? Wouldn't that be awesome to kind of see? Like history being made, Leafs fans being unbearable, sure, but that would be kind of awesome to see.
Okay, I gotta be honest. I think we're gonna get Carolina, Florida. I want Toronto, Carolina. For that reason of having to have Paul Maurice and Matthew Tkachuk answer to, well, what happened? The second you stopped being the underdogs, what happened? But also, can you imagine Leafs Hurricanes conference final, the David Ayers Bowl?
I forgot about that shit. But, I mean, the guy's a piece of shit, so can't enjoy him anymore. I don't know if you're aware of that. I'm not going to go into it, but yeah.
I recall hearing something.
Yeah.
So
I'll talk to you about it after the podcast if you need, but yeah.
Look it up, people. But yeah, so that's that. And that was our show, everybody. I hope you enjoyed it as we talked about not hockey and then not hockey. But that's what we do around here. With that, make sure to go check out Sin on the YouTubes. R.A. Thicky.
Yes.
It's taken over. And of course, we have the Torf as well, the power hitter, first baseman. We got that on my second channel, TWOGIE24. Sin, anything else to mention?
That's it, man. I'm just trying to break into MLB, and again, I would appreciate anyone who came and checked it out. I would like to continue to try to expand my channel beyond NHL because I'm simply not having fun with it right now. And I'll have to do another series soon because I need fucking views and money, but like I don't want to right now, and that sucks.
I did just find, and honestly, I mean, even though I'm doing this idea right now, I think you might have fun with it because of how stupid it is. 48 team custom league draft to glory. Every single team starts off ECHL level, and it's just a mad dash to see who can end up being good as the overall skill level of the league gets better and better.
Custom leagues because I heard it was glitched the hell out. Is it not bad anymore?
I don't know if I've necessarily run into a glitch that I know of.
People were telling me they would be crashing all the time with custom leagues.
Haven't had that happen to me yet.
Okay.
Yeah, so I forgot. I thought by default it had the playoff settings to like what it would be for modern NHL. It doesn't. So the playoffs are now top 16 teams, regardless of conference and division, makes it in. And then it's seeded 1 versus 16.
Ooh.
So you can have 2 West teams taking on one another in the first round. It doesn't matter.
That's kind of cool.
Yeah, we had an interesting set of results there. Recorded 2 more.
Maybe I'll have to fuck with custom leagues. I didn't touch it because everyone told me it was broken.
So far for me, I haven't had any issues.
Awesome. But then again, I did have that. Was that last year? Yeah, I think it was last year's NHL game. I couldn't have more than one, or maybe it was the year before. I couldn't have more than one save file because it would delete itself.
Hey, there we go. Okay, and the breaking news to close out the show: Alex Pietrangelo has been suspended for Game 5.
I fucking...
You called it.
Of course. Like, that's the only reason Nurse was suspended, because they were going to
even
suspend
it up
him for a game.
All the time. Yep. They love nothing more than evening up discipline in the NHL. Shit show. We will see you next week, everybody. Thank you so much for listening or watching the show. I appreciate you. The response right now is anger and vitriol towards the Department of Player Safety. So go read those comments if you haven't already. It's a fun time. And hey, we'll see you all next week. Goodbye.